Back at you with something that I hope will change your life. What am I talking about? Getting control of your inbox. If I ask you today, how many emails do you have in your inbox? What would you say? One of my clients, believe it or not, said she had over 200,000 emails. Now, you probably don't have that many, but if you're like a lot of people, do you kind of get a stomach ache when you even open your inbox because you have so many emails? And you're not alone because email is where it's at. It just seems like you just can't keep up with it. Well, today's your lucky day because I'm going to teach you how you can get control of your inbox. And the goal is to get it to zero at the end of every single day. I am not joking. So stick with me to the very end. This is a little longer than most of my videos, but at the end, I have something really juicy that I'm going to share with you, a spreadsheet that's going to help you get things under control. So are you ready to get going? Let's do this inbox to zero so that we can streamline your inbox and not miss a thing. And let me ask you a question. Do you just kind of use your inbox as like a filing system because you're so afraid that you're going to miss something? And let's be honest, have you spent hours sometimes searching through all of your email or inbox, all of those emails, trying to find that one email that had that important information? After you go through these tips that I'm going to share with you today, you can say goodbye to all of those hassles. All right. So let me find my slide here and let's just keep moving forward. So my first tip for you, I have 10 little tips plus a couple of other ones for you. My first tip is when you handle your email, I want you to think about the 2-minute rule. So what do I mean by that? If when you open up your inbox, if there's things that you do a quick scan, it's like, yes, I can reply and hit yes, or this, I can put in the trash can, whatever it is, quickly scan through your email and apply the 2-minute rule. Because a lot of times when we sit down to process our email, what happens? We kind of start going down rabbit holes. Somebody sends us a newsletter. We start reading that. We click on the link, and then we go all over the place. So first of all, when you open up your inbox, I want you to apply the 2-minute rule, do a quick scan, go through and handle all of those things that just have quick action. You can take care of it. Okay. Now, another thing, let me come back front and center and talk to you about only go into your email when you have time to process it. Now, what do I mean by that? Don't be hopping in and out of your inbox all day long. I want you to set up a schedule twice a day, maybe 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at the end of your workday. Only open your email when you are there to work. Okay? Because the goal is I only want you handling your email once. In other words, each email that you touch, don't touch it until you're ready to deal with it. All right. The last little note here on this tip, clutter equals postponed decisions. Let that sink in for a minute. This is digital clutter or physical clutter. If we have clutter, it means we just haven't made a decision on what to do with it. So what do? We just leave it there. How many of you use your table for that? Or, when you walk in the back door, you throw your mail, you just pile everything up because you haven't made a decision of where you're going to keep all of this information. Okay. Now, let me just say this. I'm going to use like a real life story here with like even physical things. A lot of times we will kind of make a decision of what we want to do with that thing, but then it doesn't work. So my luggage, I've probably moved 3 or 4 times, made the decision, where do I want to keep my luggage? I used to keep it in the basement, but let's face it, I'd go down and get it, I'd go on a trip. When I come back, I would unpack my suitcase, but where would my suitcase stay? Right there in my bedroom because I was too lazy to walk downstairs. Then I thought, okay, I'm going to put my luggage in my guest bedroom closet. Well, that closet, it was a big, huge mess. And so every time I needed to get it out or put it back in, it was like almost impossible. So I never put it away. Then finally, I decided, you know what? Under the bed in the guest room, there's nothing there. The suitcases slide in and out super easy. And guess what? When I come back from a trip, I unpack my suitcase. I know exactly where it goes and I put it under the bed. Now, why am I even telling you that story? It's the same thing with digital items. When we're the entrepreneur, when we've got this online business or even a brick and mortar business, you have all of this stuff coming in, this digital stuff. So you need to make decisions on where you keep these things and how you handle it. So I've got another slide that excuse me, I'm going to talk about that, but I want you to keep thinking about clutter means postponed decisions. So start making some decisions, okay? So let's go on to tip number 2. Tip number 2 talks about empty your inbox. Now, the goal for you, and I don't care how many pieces of email come in every day, the goal is every single day, I want you to have an empty inbox. Now, how do you do that? Especially if you have a huge amount of email sitting there right there. The first thing that you're going to do an initial purge. But instead of like throwing everything away and everybody panicking, all we're going to do is create a folder. And I like to name it like Archive August 2024. And then I'm going to select all of my email and drag it over. And now I've got a clean slate. And then starting today, I'm going to implement all of these tips so that the goal at the end of every single day, guess what? Your inbox is empty. And you can do it. Believe me, you can. So how do you like take care of all of these other emails? First of all, I want you to put it on your calendar. Okay, when are you going to start? And I challenge you to actually look at how many emails do you have in your inbox and tag me in social media and let me know. I would love to know because that's going to be your benchmark. Then you're going to process these. We'll talk about easy ways to process all of these that's in your archive folder. And then moving forward, you will have some systems so you know how to handle all of your incoming email. Are you excited? I am. Now, just a little note here, don't be afraid, okay? Don't be afraid. It is not a contest, okay? So it doesn't mean you have to get all of this done within a week, but I want you to get started with the process, and bit by bit, you'll be able to get there. And again, don't be afraid, okay? All right, so let's go to tip number 3. Creating your folders. This is where the magic is going to happen. I want you to think about your email, number 1, as like your assistant in your business, okay? It is your backbone of running your business, but you are the boss. You are the CEO of your business, not your inbox, all right? Your inbox is like your administrative assistant. They don't run the show, you run the show. So what do we do with all of this email and all of the email that we have in our archive folder? The first thing I want you to do is to create some higher level folders. And what I tell people, think about like a regular corporation. They have departments, right? So you've got the human resource department. You might have the payroll department. You have the marketing department, the sales department, et cetera, et cetera. So think about your business and create not a lot, maybe 5 to 10 major folders, and then write it down. Remember, clutter means postpone decisions. So just make a decision. And guess what? If it doesn't work, you can change it in the future. All right. And let me just talk about these folders for a second. If you have, I have one that I have at the very top stuff that is like super important. In that folder, I name it with a special character, depending on what email system you use. I use a -1 important. All right. It's like short-term important. You don't want to fill that up with 500 emails, but I get an email, I know that I'm going to be referring to it this week, or it's got some information I need, whatever it is, I might put it in that important folder. Okay. You should have a folder for like administrative stuff, a folder for CEO stuff, a folder for like financials, all of that kind of stuff. But again, think about how you work in your business. And if there's certain types of email that come in that, maybe you're working on a launch, or maybe you have a client that you're heavily, involved in, then you might create a kind of like a temporary folder, float it up to the top by using one of these special characters so that you can get to it very quickly. And then you can go back and forth, access those emails when you need it. You know exactly when they come in, where you're going to put them. All right. Is that making sense? And here is another tip. Set expiration dates. All right. So if you're working on a project and you think it's going to be a 3-month project, put the date at the end of what you're naming that folder. So then you know that, okay, this is the ABC project, expires December 2024. All right. So it will help you. Then you can kind of move that folder down into like a major archive folder if you need to. Right? Are you with me? Is that making sense? And I've said it before, but limit the number of folders. You don't want to have 50 folders and then you can't remember what you call them. Now you can have subfolders under your, what I'll call the departmental folders. But again, make decisions, document it, make that decision up front. Then as these emails come in, you know how to process them. All right. Tip number, let me go back here. Tip number 5. Now, sometimes we keep things in our inbox because we're afraid of losing it, because we're, we know that we have to act on it, but we just don't have time. Maybe you're going to be on a podcast and there's like somebody sent you an email and they say, we need your headshot, we need your bio, we need the links, all that kind of stuff. And you're not ready to act on it, but you're like afraid, if you move it out of your inbox, you're afraid that you're going to lose it. So what can you do? Couple things. And there's tools. I'll talk about some of these tools in a minute. If you wanted, you could forward that email to yourself and change the subject line, put some dates up there. Okay. And again, you could set expiration dates. So again, you could have a subfolder. Sometimes people, if they're not seeing it front and center, they forget about it. So again, float that subfolder up to the top with the date, urgent for this week or something. And then every Monday, you're checking that folder to make sure that everything was taken care of. All right. In your subject line, you'll want to define the action. So somebody sends you an email and maybe it's not real clear, but then once you read through it, it's like, okay, I need to do A, B, and C. You could forward it to yourself. And in the subject line, you just put in there, must respond by Monday, need headshot, whatever it is. All right. Okay, so let's go on to tip number 6. I mentioned that there's some tools, and there's a bunch of tools out there. Here's just a couple. I love tools, I love systems, all of that kind of stuff, but I do not want you to have something that's so complicated, then all of a sudden, you've got like 10 balls in the air and you can't remember where it's at. But a couple of these tools are very useful because basically they're like your follow-up assistant. Okay, so what do I mean by that? One of them is Toodle-Do, I think is how you say it, and another one is called Follow Up Then. I won't open them right now. You can, I'm not an affiliate or anything. And there's other tools out there. So if you know certain tools, reach out, share them with me. and I'll share them with my group also. But basically, they act as they will either send you email reminders. So let's say you have a folder, your urgent folder, things that I have to deal with this week or this month, but you're still a little afraid because you don't see it in your inbox. You could use the follow up then system, and you put the date in, and you can say, send me an email tomorrow, or send me an email 8:15, 24, whatever it is. So you can do it by date, or, however you refer to it. Send me an email next week to remind me to do such and such. All right. Again, the key is try not to use your inbox as your to-do list, because guess what? You never get to the end of it. You just continue to keep adding and adding. And you can set these reminder dates by using these tools and other things. You can also set different automation rules depending on which email system that you use. But the idea is, again, going back to that initial goal, we want our inbox to 0 every night. Just think how refreshing that's going to feel. So you'll get up in the morning, and instead of seeing 500 emails, you might just see 10 or 15 emails that have come in through the night. And because you have made a decision of when you're working in your emails, you're not hopping in and out all day long. First thing in the morning, last thing of my workday, get into your email, deal with those things, close your email. All right. Is that making sense? All right. So let's go to tip number 7. Now, let me say this here. Taking care of your inbox is, it's an exercise of training others also. So in these tips, how you send emails will actually be part of training others the best practice of emails and how you want to receive those emails. Okay, so what do I mean by that? When you are sending emails, start developing these good practices, like putting the action in the subject. Okay, so instead of just saying a follow-up, right in the subject line, put in there, what is it you're looking for? And even if there's a date, you could put that in the subject line. So let's say, let's say you have the podcast and you're inviting someone. If you send them an email, in the subject line, need bio and headshot by August 15th, and then open the email and then give them the brief description. Guess what? The people that you email, they're going to start mimicking, because they're going to appreciate. They're going to like, oh, that was pretty cool. Then they know exactly what to do with that email. So another thing that you need to do, and I suggest just creating a Google Sheet, all these decisions that you're making, the names of your departments, okay? I also want you to define like action type categories. So if it's like a meeting follow-up, MTG, F follow-up, whatever it is, okay? So come up with the acronyms, define those categories, and start training others. And then if somebody emails you and it's kind of this, follow-up from our meeting, okay, that's the subject line. Well, that really doesn't tell you much. So when you're responding back, change the subject line. Podcast follow-up items, by whatever it is. You get the point, okay? Then people are going to start catching on. And how many times do you get an email and it might have like 3 or 5 different action items? Here's another suggestion. Don't be afraid to email them back 3 separate times or 5 separate times, and only deal with one thing at a time. It's going to make your life so much easier, and theirs, when you are processing and working through your emails. Okay, so let's go to tip 8. I don't know why my slides keep bouncing back and forth. So again, Tip 8 ties in with tip 7 because it's all about training other people. Now, you're the CEO of your business. Everybody has the right to run their business how they want, but your time is precious. So if people want your attention through your email, they need to play by your rules. All right. So what do I mean by that? So train others. So have you ever gotten an email and it's like you're reading a dissertation and you know that there's nuggets in there that you're supposed to be acting on, but after 15 minutes, or just even skimming, you still don't get it? Guess what? I would respond back and ask them, please clarify in very simple bullets, what is it that you need from me and due dates or whatever it is. Don't be afraid because, again, you are the CEO of your business. And why should I spend 20 minutes trying to decipher someone else's email because they don't know how to outline and be very succinct in what they're asking? And on the flip side, when you do have people that follow the rules or they set a good example, commend them and be very specific. Say, thank you so much for outlining in bullets the details of what you're looking for and by giving me a due date or whatever it is. Because you know what? We all love those compliments. And if you catch people doing something right, catch them doing what it is that makes sense for you, they're excuse me, they're going to continue to do that. Okay. All right. Tip number 9. Now this goes back to some of the other tips that we talked about. Again, when you run your business, especially solopreneurs, you're the only person. Now, you might have a VA, that does a few hours of work, but whether you're a one person or you have a huge team, it all starts with defining the systems and even creating the little SOPs, those standard operating procedures. Because if your goal is to grow a business where you actually have a team and you might even have someone start handling your email, you need to make all of these decisions ahead of time. Just don't be willy-nilly and then, everybody's kind of doing their own thing. Okay. So again, decide in advance. Decide which systems you're going to use. Okay. If you're going to use a third-party system, whatever it is, if you're using, like Google Drive folders, and then on your local computer, you mimic those so that if somebody stepped into your business, it would make sense to them and everything would be consistent across the board. And again, document everything. Just create a simple Google document, a Google spreadsheet, something, because sooner or later, someone else will probably step in and help you. And let's face it, we get real organized and then next month we're thinking, where did I put that? So if you have things written down, if you document it, oh, that's right. Any particular request for podcasts goes into my marketing folder, subfolder, etc. Okay. And again, if you find that you start having these leftover emails in your inbox, what does that mean? It just means you haven't made a decision. So remember that quote, clutter is postponed decisions. So once you start getting your inbox under control and you're starting to apply these, and then you get busy, and then all of a sudden your inbox starts filling up again, it just means it's time to make some decisions again. All right. Okay. Great job on sticking with me. So let's go to tip number 10, manage subscriptions. Now, let me say this. First of all, I sign up for stuff all the time. Sometimes it's market research. I want to see what other people are doing. Sometimes it's, they've got a freebie or maybe they're running a challenge and it seems interesting. So I will sign up for it. It's very easy for our inbox to start filling up with all of these things. And then if you're like me, sometimes I'll look at it and I think, I can't even remember who this person is and why am I getting emails from them? So I'm going to share a sneaky little tip with you. Okay. That is, when you do sign up for these things, in most of them, you have to at least put your name and your email, right? In your name, don't just put your name. Use some kind of a description so that you remember why you signed up for it. So, Katie has like an email list uh, subscription, something, or a Canva Pro tips or something like that. So in my name category, I might say Deb dash Canva Pro or Deb dash Katie, so I could remember who it was, Canva. All right. And it's going to look kind of goofy and it's going to be this real long string. What's fun though is then when they do email you, most email systems will extract that first name and they'll embed it. So it's just kind of fun. And sometimes I'll even take it a step further and my name becomes beautiful dash Canva Pro Tips. So then when they write me, they'll say, "Hey, beautiful, have you had a chance to check out my freebie?" It's just kind of a fun little thing that I do. So think about, as you're subscribing to all of these different things, when you put your name, it just helps you so that when they're emailing you, it kind of helps you remember how you even got on their list. Then the next thing is once a month, and set a date, or set it on your calendar, the fourth Friday of every month. You're going to take 30 minutes and you're going to go through your emails, excuse me, and you're going to start unsubscribing. Because let's face it, we sign up for stuff, and then after we get that freebie, or maybe even before that, we never even open their emails. Don't be afraid to unsubscribe. Now, I get it. It hurts my feelings too if somebody unsubscribes, but if people aren't ready for me or my services, they're really doing me a favor, because it opens up room for other people who are ready. And so I just want you to think about that. And a lot of people pay based on the number of emails or number of names in their email account. So don't feel bad if it's not serving you, just unsubscribe. Okay. Now, you can use mailbox rules. Let me just come back here and talk to you about that for a second. And what do I mean by that? Again, depending on which email system you're using, you could set rules. So, I don't know, there's one guy, I love his. Every Friday he sends out kind of like a newsletter. I read every single one of them, but I don't always have time to read them every week. So I could set up a rule where when his email comes in, it automatically pops it into a folder. And so then I don't even have to process it. It's just there. His emails are really entertaining for me. And so quite honestly, when I just want a little entertainment, that's when I will read those emails. It's not work. Okay. So you could use automatic systems like that. I caution you a little bit, because again, you don't want all your subfolders filling up with hundreds of emails from somebody that you're never even going to read. If you do find that, if you create some of these subfolders and then, every week you're moving Betty Jo's newsletter over, and then once a month when you're managing things and you look and you realize you have 50 emails that you've never even opened, it's time to unsubscribe from her service. Okay. Are you with me on that one? Okay. And then the last little bullet point on this tip is plan for reading time. So reading some of these emails that come in, like newsletter type things, is different than processing your email. And when we merge those two things together, that's what kind of gets us in trouble. That's what gets us down all these rabbit holes. And then we look up 2 hours later and we still haven't really done anything in our inbox. And, it's time to focus on something else. So what I like to do is, and again, depending on how many things you have coming in, think of your reading time, one, either as entertainment or two, as educational time. So just like in the corporate world, you might have been allotted so many hours a month to spend on continuing ed. All right. So if you have some of these emails that are like continuing ed, then put it on your calendar, 15 minutes every day or 30 minutes once a week. That's when you're going to go into whatever folder you're saving these, and you're going to start reading those. All right. The same thing with the entertainment ones. And here's just a little side note. A lot of times we will use our inbox as an excuse. We need to take a break. We're doing some deep work, but it's like, I just need a break. So what do? You open up your inbox. You want that little dopamine hit. It's like, oh, look how, look, somebody's emailed me. But again, your inbox is a tool. So I only want you to get into your inbox when you are ready to process. So those 2 times a day. But some of these other emails that are entertainment. So, you're sitting here having your little coffee break, then that's fine. Open up one of those folders and read those entertainment ones, but don't use that time to kind of go back and forth. All right. Hope that's making sense to you. You guys are doing great. Let's keep moving on. So let's go to tip number 11. Just like anything, we need to plan. We implement something, then we need to check it to see, is it working for us? So every week, every day, you should have a system when you're handling your emails, when you're working your inbox. Every week, you should have a system, every month, and then every quarter. Okay. So again, put it on your calendar and just look at what's worked. And if you find that your inbox is still out of control, then maybe you need to tighten things up a little bit. Or did you make it so complicated that, it's kind of like that stack of papers that you had to file? So then maybe you need to say, you know what, I don't need it that complicated. I just need like 6 major folders. I can drag those things over and then deal with them when I have time, right? Another tip, which will help keep you motivated, is I want you to tell yourself, what is your hourly rate, right? Is it worth $100 an hour, 150, 250, whatever it is? And then estimate, once you put these practices in place, just estimate how much time are you saving by having these systems. And I guarantee you will be saving time. Then what I want you to do is put a price on it. So if once you get this nice little system going, and maybe you realize, you know what, I think I save like 10 hours a week doing this, and my hourly rate is $100. Guess what? You've just made $1,000. Not technically, right? But you've saved yourself, because those hours you can spend on your money-making activities. And again, just imagine how freeing it is when you have your inbox under control. All right. So remain diligent, keep at it. Don't feel discouraged if it doesn't work right away. Okay. Just keep working it. Okay. Tip number 12, make sure that you create these archive folders. Probably the number one reason people dread dealing with their inbox is they're so afraid they're going to lose something valuable. So I'm not saying go in there and delete everything and start from scratch. Just create these archive folders. And when things start getting out of hand, it's like an indicator, okay, I need to like do a new purge here. So let's say come November, you do a quick review and all of a sudden you've got 1,000 emails in your inbox again. Let's create another archive folder, name it November 2024, move everything over so that you've got that clean slate again. If you ever watch any of those like clutter buster videos and shows and stuff, or people come in to organize, what do? They first start with the clean slate. You can't clean on top of all this stuff. So you have to do the same thing with your inbox. And again, don't be afraid. Just move everything over into your archive folder. And then from there, probably the easiest thing to do is then sort by name. And why do I say that? Because then all of a sudden, if you have 50 emails from Betty Lou and you haven't even opened any of those yet, that's a good indicator that, you probably need to delete or unsubscribe from that one. So that is like the first pass of what I would do. I'd move everything into my archive folder. Then I would sort, let me come back here. Then I would sort things by name. I would do kind of a quick cursory glance. And that might help you decide what subfolders you need to create. And then from there, sort it again by date, the most current. And again, chances are the things on the top, those are the most important. Then do a reverse date sort. And all of a sudden, you've got all of these old things in there, 2 years old. Chances are you're not going to do anything with it anyway. So I would take that big, and again, if you're afraid you're going to lose something, everything that's 2 years old, move it into another folder. 2022. Okay. Everything dated 2023, move that into a folder. And then at least you don't have to worry about losing anything. Okay. And baby steps. All right. It didn't get this way overnight, so you're not going to, like in a blink of an eye, get everything under control, but be committed every day, every week, work on this. And also set some expiration dates. So again, if people came in and organized, or they were going to help you move and you have all this stuff, sometimes people say, pack it in a box, put a date on it. And if you haven't opened that box within 6 months or 12 months, chances are you're never going to use it anyway. So donate it or get rid of it. The same thing with our email. Put a date on these folders and set an expiration date. It's like, okay, everything in this folder, if I'm not using it, goes bye-bye in 6 months, whatever it is. And then also make sure that you remember to empty the trash. All right. So a lot of times you'll be dragging things over and you'll forget to actually empty the trash. And depending on your email system, some of them will automatically like purge things every 30 days or something, but not all of them. So make sure that you empty the trash. All right. Okay, great job for hanging with me. So I had mentioned, let's see if this is going to come up. There it is. So I've got this handy little guide for you. If you haven't signed up, I'll put a link below. It's free for you, no obligations or anything. 10-minute a day decluttering guide. And basically, why do we say 10 minutes? So the first little checklist on each one of these is set the timer for 10 minutes. Why do we say set the timer for 10 minutes? Because it's easy the first time you jump in, you're all excited and, you might spend an hour and a half or 2 hours. Then the next day, it's like you're so burnt out and you're so behind on your other work that you don't do it. So be disciplined. You're only going to work 10 minutes a day on going through all of those emails in your archive. Now, I'm not talking about processing your day-to-day emails. This is going through purging and decluttering, okay? And then it just has different suggestions of what you can do. Delete all the junk mails, create some basic filters, organize by priority. I won't read the whole thing, but you will love using this, and it will just give you that container so that you've got a plan of action. Okay, so hopefully that will help you doing that. All right, so we've covered a lot. Let me go back up here. Let's just do a super quick little review here. So the 2-minute rule, when you jump into your inbox, handle those super quick things first. Also, make sure that you set a parameter about when are you working in your emails, and you can let other people know too. I review my emails once a day or twice a day. I respond back within 24 hours or 48 hours, whatever it is. But implement that 2-minute rule and handle those quick items. Okay. The second tip that we talked about is you have to have that clean slate to get started. So create that archive folder, move everything over. Don't be afraid. It's not a contest, but you can do it. I have faith in you. Tip number 3, establish that schedule. The inbox is your employee. You're the boss. You decide when you're going to work in your inbox, and you're going to let other people know. And another tip is turn off notifications. If you're drawn to every time the computer dings or your phone and you got to rush over and look in your email, if that is distracting you, just turn it off. Because you know that twice a day you're going to hop in your inbox. You're the boss. Be the boss. Okay. Then we talked about creating these folders. Think of your business just like an organization. You've got different departments. Create those folders and then a few subfolders underneath. Limit the number of folders, and if necessary, put expiration dates on the name of that folder so that you know, okay, everything in here has to be cleaned up or it's going to be trashed in 2 months or whatever it is. Okay. Tip 5, if you're really afraid of losing something, forward that email to yourself, completely change the subject line, set those expiration dates, put the action in this subject line so you know exactly what it is and what you need to do. Tip number 6, we talked about a couple of tools that you can use. Remember, the inbox is not your to-do list. Okay? And then use specific subject lines. So when you're emailing people, make sure that you take advantage of that subject line so that other people know what's the purpose, when do they need to get back to you, what are the action items, and you'll be training others. And when you respond back to people, redo the subject line. You can still put the RE in front of it, but redo it so it makes sense. So when people are scanning, when they're doing that 2-minute review in their inbox, they'll know exactly what that email is all about. And then train by example. Let's get everybody on board and start using our inbox the way it should be, as a tool for us, not as a burden. And don't be afraid to ask people to resend you something, and condense it down. Say, write it like you're explaining it to a 5-year-old, because we don't want to spend our time reading through all the stuff trying to figure out what to do. So be very specific and reward those people that are following along. Decide a place for everything. Decide what your folder names are. Decide what kinds of tags or categories you're going to create. Document all of this. You're going to thank me, trust me, a month from now, you can pull out that little sheet or print it out, and you know exactly how to take care of all of your emails. And remember, if you have leftovers in your inbox, it just means you haven't made a decision. So you need to start making those decisions, right? And then at least once a month, make sure that you manage your subscriptions. So, and when you're signing up for things, try to come up with a little system so that when they do email you every day or once a week or whatever, you remember, okay, now I remember why I got on that list, okay? And also plan for reading time, but that's outside of processing your inbox. All right. And as we talked about, any system that we create, we need to go back and review it, make sure that it's working. Do we need to make some tweaks? We made it too complicated, whatever it is, and remain diligent. Put a price tag on how much time you're saving, and you're going to feel so liberated. Trust me. And then of course, create some archive folders. And, don't be afraid to have monthly archive folders if you need to, and yearly archive folders. And then, just like our tax records, there's a limit to how long we need to hang on to something. And just take baby steps. Okay. And lastly, make sure that you remember to empty the trash. So let's see, is there anything else here? So if you're kind of new to my world, there's a couple of ways that I help entrepreneurs, coaches, creatives. If you're just getting started in the business, then you will want to join my Digital Business Academy Prep School. It's a very low cost membership, and that's all about where we figure out who your target audience is, what are you trying to sell, and we do all of this kind of prep work to get you up and running. If you're in the business already, you are making some progress, but you're ready to scale, or you're ready to just kind of get your life back instead of working 60 hours a week, then you might want to think about joining my Digital Business Academy, because in that, it's all about the software, the systems, and the strategies. And I'm there with you every step of the way so that we can create this well-oiled business that will run like clockwork, that will run like a franchise. And you will be so thrilled that you finally are back in control of your business. So I'll put the link below so that you can sign up and get that juicy little spreadsheet. Tag me in social media, make a comment if you're watching this. If you're watching it on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Let me know how many emails do you currently have. And then once you've gone through the process, let me know how it's working. I would love to know. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.